Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakak. And I want to say Shalom to Yaakov out there, pursuing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson. This one's titled, Who Says Esau Has No Culture? Right? Who says Esau has no culture? And of course, it's a provocative title. The people of the world tend to say oftentimes, Jake, that so-called white people have no culture. Well, if you really study them and examine them, and once it's gifted to you through Yahweh Shai Shai, this Holy Spirit's put on you, and you get this ability to really be to step up to level 11, all right, with the learning and learn about history, history and the mysteries, as the apostles Great Millstone say. In order to understand the history, you got to know the mystery. And what is that mystery? Well, it's that mystery that's been revealed to us by Yahweh Shai Shai. And if you don't have that, yeah, you could be under the assumption that, white people don't have any culture, right? But even with that out in the world, there's a deeper level to it, okay? The conscious Jake, all right, even as much, well, they're not too conscious because they're still wide asleep. But the ones that are, I won't say close to figuring it out, because that's all through Yahweh Shai Shai, but they know a little bit more than the average, regular baseline Jake. They know that, they do have a culture. It's stealing all of our shit, right? They just don't know who they really are. So it's a deep level of confusion and misunderstandings about, not genealogical, but I guess you could say ethnic origins, all right, is a better word. Ethnic origins. Because once you understand you're an Israelite, then you're gonna be hit with that, like we all were when we woke up, that okay, now things are starting to make more sense. But Jake out there in the world don't have that, and Esau don't have that, and the people of the world don't have that, regardless of what nation they are, because they're out there in the world. So they think, the white man has no culture. Well, no, he does, as Esau, all right? And it's killing, all right, pillaging, raping, robbing, senselessly slaughtering, what's the other one? Stealing lands, coveting fields, and taking them by violence, as the scriptures say. Pursuing his brother with a sword. What else does he have? On Instagram, I thought almost that maybe I didn't want to put him in a video. I was on Instagram scrolling through, and there was like 3 or 4 videos of people doing weird shit with animals. Doing weird shit. Now, it wasn't fully, some of them were sexual looking, right? There was this lady rubbing up on her dog's shit, and that was a Mexican woman. All right, so-called, and that's the thing. A lot of those Mexicans, so-called, are actually just Edomites. Not all of them, okay? Not all of them, but you got to realize it's a good half and half over there, because that land was, that land called Mexico was highly, all right, colonized by Esau, all right, by the Spaniards, all right, the conquistadors, all right, conquering, conquistadorians, conquering. That's what Esau does. They covet fields and take them by violence. Conquering, pillaging. What's the other word? Colonizing. Okay, there's whatever you want to call it. It's the same shit, all right, under a different, not shit as in how the scriptures call it, but same shit, but they call it different things. They'll call it, it was colonizing. It was conquering. It really what it was this. It was a land grab. It was this and that. Well, you can call it whatever you want. At the end of the day, you're not really gonna change what it is. All right, and what it is them coveting, as the Bible says. They deeply desire to have this land that's not theirs, and in order to get it, they kill individuals to take it. And that's what was going on with it happened here in Babylon as well, all right, so-called United States of America. It happened here as well, but it happened there as well, and it was heavy over there, okay, heavy. So you have 2 types of so-called Mexican. You have the ones that were there already, okay, and the ones that were there already were Jake, all right. They were Aztec, all right, as the history says, Aztec Mexican or Aztec native is what you'll hear, and they were the Issacharites, all right, of the Bible, all right, one of the 12 tribes, all right, as pertaining unto the northern kingdom, all right. But they were known as the Aztecs, and the Aztecs were later on to know, and so on and so forth. They're a type of Native American, just like Gad was here, all right, called the Native American Indian, all right, or the North American Indian, all right, multiple different names, the Indian, the Injun, all right, Tonto, Red Man, all right, all these different names and covering casts, some of them slurs, some of them not. Those are the names that they put onto the people that were here. And nobody was really indigenous to this land, but the closest you can get to indigenous is, of course, Gad and Issachar being here, but no one's indigenous to this land, because that means they came out of this land. And no, because both Gad and Issachar were not originally here. Of course, they're Israelites, so where would they had to have been from? Israel. So they were not indigenous to this land, okay, but they were here first, okay. So but regardless with that, there's a lot of stuff that happens. But anyway, a lot of those people, they're basically tares, all right. They look like the people, but they're not the people, and that's why we see a good chunk and half of, again, just like Southern Kingdom, all right, with so-called Negroes, all right, and same thing with the Latinos. There was a lot of conquering and that went down with the with Southern Kingdom as well. So some of those individuals on the East Coast are Edomites as well. Okay, it doesn't just go for Issachar; it also goes for so-called black folk, because down there on those plantations, that's one of the main things that Esau liked to do. Again, going back to what he did, he used to like to take one of the male slaves' wives. Okay, so-called Negro, the Judite or Levite or Benjamite man's wives. All right, which is one right there already completely fucking off. It shouldn't be doing that, because that's adultery. But they would do that, get with that woman, and have a child, and that child would be a chocolate-covered Edomite. All right, because it goes back to through your seed line of your father, and that child does. The mother does not give anything. She gives physical traits. All right, and certain genetic traits, but she does not pass on the seed, all right, for the seed line. So whatever nation she is irregardless, all right, you can throw that away. I mean, you're going to have traits of that nation, all right, as we all know. But for those that are new around here, you are what your father is, all right, and he is what his father is, and his father is what his father is, going all the way back to, hopefully, Abraham, Isaac, and down through what you need to be, Jacob, all right, because that's where the 12 tribes came out of, was Jacob, whose name was later changed to Israel. So that's the whole thing that's going on. But a lot of these so-called Mexicans, that's an Edomite thing. And, they're also not saying that Jake can't be sick, because they're also learning the same shit that Esau is doing. But that is one of the things that that doing shit with animals, and I reported all of those accounts. And it must have been like 2 or 3. One was so-called Mexican. The other 2 or 3 were all. Well, at first I thought. Well, I think actually I can't say they're all the same, because one was, I think, Thai. Because I went on her page to see if that was the whole shit that she was doing, because it looked like she was being weird with dogs, and then she just had a bunch of weird rubbing on dogs the whole page. And I think she was Thai, because they had that weird looking text that you only see with Thai language. And then another one I think was Indian. So heathens, man. But Esau is the big one on that. Esau is the one that you really see. I saw a couple with Esau as well. They are more slick with it. They're making jokes, and they said one was this white woman, and that she wasn't doing anything with the horse, but it was heavily implied. There was a horse in the background, and she was in booty shorts, and she was bending over like and pulling her like pants down from the back. You couldn't see anything, but pulling the pants down from to cool herself off from a fan that was nearby. But it said what every Texas woman does when it gets a little warm outside. And you know what she was fucking leaning on to. What the fuck, man? And anyway, and they do it. They do that shit. They do that shit. All right, they absolutely do be doing that shit, having sex with those animals, having sex with those horses. That's why they make sexual, I'll just say dildos. All right, they make, there was big news going on years ago. I remember hearing about it on Instagram or Reddit. that one of the most popular sex toys or something from that year was apparently supposed to be modeled off after a dog's, junk, which is, why the fuck would you even want that, first of all? And I guarantee you, if you really looked into the statistics on who were buying that shit, it was all probably white women, man. It was all white women, okay? And the other thing is that the horse cocks, right? As they call them. They make the fucking ones of those, right? You've seen them on the internet. If you've been on the internet for fucking 15, 16, 17 years, you'll see some shit. They have those out there, right? They have those out there. Back when I was, younger, all right, when Pornhub and shit and all that shit, yeah, you see, there's women that'll use them. There's women that'll use them, and they'll be on the popular page, right? Now, I don't go to that website anymore like that. None of those, X-Hamster, all those shit, but X-Video, everybody knows about that shit at one point, right? Everybody was on that shit at one point, right? Don't act like you weren't. Most of us were, right? Especially when we were teenagers, high schools and shit. You know damn well you were looking at porn when you were in high school. And that's what they were doing. They were using shit like that. And white women. It's mostly white women. Why? Because they have like I said, who says Esau has no culture? They have this sexual promiscuity. They're profane. Okay? They're profane, and they just do sick shit. They do sick shit. And speaking of sick shit, that's what we're talking about today. All right? Because this is some sick shit. This is some shit that I found on Instagram. And it's a saved video that I have from a couple days ago from True Crime Stories or whatever, right? And I'll just read it out, and because I don't think it's voiced, but you see it says it's dealing with a woman and her husband, right? A woman and her husband, and it says, "Babe, I'm kind of bored of making CP." All right, so what that refers to is child sex exploitation materials, as they call it now, CSEM, but they're dealing with child. P to the O to the R to the N. That's what these sick individuals were making, right? But it gets sicker than that. It gets sicker than that. So I'm just gonna mute it. It says, "I'm not, but I'm sure we can try something else." She said, "I have an idea. How about you come in this cup?" He says, I like where this is going already. "And I'll use your cum to bake cupcakes." All right, this is, like I said, it's disgusting, but this is Esau shit, and it's a real story. It says, "That sounds delicious. I can't wait to try the cupcakes." See, already then it's fucking sick and weird, right? But it gets worse. It says, "They're not for you, babe. I'm going to feed my students with them." And there they were. There they were. Does it have a commentary now?
Trusted by everyone, but what they did behind closed doors, absolutely sickening. In 2019, Louisiana was rocked by one of the most disturbing cases ever. Cynthia Perkins, a middle school teacher, and her husband Dennis Perkins, a sheriff's deputy, looked like your typical respected couple, but it was all a lie. Police got a tip and raided their home, and what they found was beyond disturbing. Thousands of photos and videos, many involving illegal recordings and cupcakes made with Dennis's bodily fluids that Cynthia had been giving to her students. Yeah, you heard that right. By 2022, they were hit with over 150 charges. Cynthia turned on Dennis, took a plea deal, and got 41 years in prison. Dennis, he pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 100 years, no chance of parole. People trusted them, parents trusted them, and they completely betrayed that trust. Let me know what you think the harshest part of this case was.
Well, here's a scripture, all right, for you non-Edomites. We all know it. Ecclesiastes 12:10. Never trust thine enemy. Well, the parents trust them, community trust. No. Nope. Never trust thine enemy. And who was our enemy? Primarily, the big one, Esau. Okay? Never trust them. Alright? If they give your kids something, throw that shit right in the fucking trash. Maybe not in front of their face, but they let your kids know, don't eat that shit. As soon as you leave the parking lot, you throw that shit away. Alright? Don't eat that because they're weird. Now, there's more rule. Now, see, the thing is, I don't know how they were even able to get away with that. I don't know the demographic of where they said they were. I forgot. I don't know if it was a smaller town or what, because I remember when I was in school, when I was in elementary school, it was like 08, 07, 06, That's right. That was the tail end of my elementary years. Right? I think '08 was my last year in elementary school. I think. And in '04, '05, '06, I remember that I think there was even stipulations on that. I think, teachers could bring things, but it had to be passed by the school board. And I think one of the most primary reasons was, no, because it wasn't even that. I know one of them for a while was because I think maybe some of the kids, they didn't want, if any of the kids had allergies to nuts, they wanted to screen it and make sure that it was from an actual, maybe it was that. But because the rule I remember that came into place later on was that parents were not allowed to bring anything that was not, one, sealed. It had to be sealed, and it had to have a nutritional label on it. All right, and I think it was a half and half. I think some of it was nutritional label, so you could see if there was nuts. So in case there was a child that was allergic to nuts, they they'd say, oh, we can't have this as a child in the classroom allergic to nuts. I think also that was making sure that none of the food goods were tampered with. Now, teachers were allowed to some levels of, I don't know if they were allowed to have the school board get them. I don't know if they were allowed to, but I know for Halloween parties and Christmas parties, they were allowed. We did have them, but I don't know the correct stipulations. Maybe it was a rule that was just for parents, but the teachers were like these individuals, right? They're teachers. Maybe the teachers were allowed to bring them, but I thought there was even like stipulations on that. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure necessarily what the rules are. I don't have kids, and I haven't been in school for a series of years. The only person I know that's like a I don't have any siblings either, so the only one I have is like a little sister to me is my cousin. In some ways, she's not, but she has sister-like traits. All right, because I've known her since she was little. But I haven't asked her. All right, I haven't talked to her. I haven't asked her like that. I mean, what was the rules? It's not something that comes up organically, but it's just one of those things where I'm not necessarily sure. I mean, at least in this jurisdiction, they were allowed to bring things. So that's why you should never, going back to that Ecclesiastes 12:10, we all know it, right? Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. So yeah, if they give something to your kid, that's, I'm so distrusting of Esau, and as you brothers and sisters should be as well, that, if I was to have kids in this godforsaken world, all right, well, it's not really godforsaken. That's kind of a weird saying that the world uses, but the Lord has forsaken this place because it's vile, so I guess it works. It's I would homeschool them, man. I would 100% homeschool them, because I don't want them being exposed to this weird shit that's going. There's a various levels of weirdoism that's happening in the schools, whether it's a pedophilia, whether it's homosexuality, whether it's being exposed to drugs, whether it's being exposed to any of these things, right? Any of the concepts that you're trying to instill in your children. You're gonna have other children that are coming from vile and profane housing situations, and they're gonna teach your children about it. I knew kids when I was in school that there was a kid that used to bring Hustler magazines, all right, porno, to school, all right, and at this time I was older, so I was like, how old was I? Maybe like 12 or 13 at that time. So I mean, technically I was an adult, but some of these children are doing it younger than that, right? And that'll permanently fuck you up in the brain. All right, that's what one of the problems with our generations, the younger millennials, or the eldest of the Gen Z, the cuspers, as you will, the zillennials, and millennials suffer from it as well. Is early exposure to pornography. All right, and that shit. What is it? That's why if you see our generation is very sexually promiscuous, very over sexualized. Okay, if I guarantee, if you looked into it, our generation probably has the highest levels of porn addictions, the highest levels of nymphomania, the highest levels, highest amount of sexual partners, and so on and so forth. Just because we were, here it is. I remember the first time I saw that shit. The first time I ever saw it was like 5 years old, because my parents fucked around and left a DVD in, but they didn't mean to, or it was a VHS or something like that, but they didn't mean to. That was a slip up. I saw it for about a few seconds, and I didn't know what it was at the time until I thought about it later. But I don't know. It could have had some effect on the mind. But I just know because I went to put in a VHS, and like when you turn it on, it would auto play. And my parents came bolting to the living room to rip it out. So, and looking back, I said, that's probably what that shit was. But I remember the first time I was like 7 or 8, and there was a game. I was looking for flash games. All right, flash games were the big thing back then. Like Sift Heads. What else? There was what was that game? I forget a lot of the names of them. I know later you had things like Happy Wheels and things like that came, but there was Sift Heads. There was all those weird torture games like Kill Your Boss. The Sand Game. Can't forget about the Sand Game. That shit's awesome. If you don't know what the Sand Game is, here it is. This is probably it was like it. That ain't the one. It was the OG Sand Game. The Sand Game. Falling Sand. That's what it was. Falling Sand. Is this the OG? It was. Yeah, this is the OG. Right? And it was just like this. Right? It was a flash game. I'm surprised they still have it up to this capacity where it's mostly the same. I don't know if this was exactly how it was, but it's a good representation. You could take you could go and do something like that, and you could put a bunch of napalm in it. Right? Put a bunch of napalm in it, and then you get fire and watch. Boom. Right? And I know it looks crazy for those that are younger. They're like, what the fuck is this? Now this shit used to entertain you for hours, man. You could have done anything on this. You could have done any thing on this. You'd have it clear. Well, the first thing I would always do is I'd always come up here and I'd always do one of these because I wouldn't want that interfering with anything. All right, and then you could do anything from there. Nitro, I remember Nitro exploded crazy. Why don't you could check this shit out? You kids don't know nothing about this. Why don't you put the nitro? Where's the oil? I used to put the oil, nitro, oil, gunpowder, and then napalm, right? And then you light that. Or what I really used to do is where's the eraser? Here. You erase a little bit right there because there's the fuse. I forgot about the fuse. Look at this. All right. And then you light the fire. There you go. Watch this. Boom. But yeah, things like that. Slacking. Got a little carried away, but things like that. Hell, makes me want to go back and play it after the lesson. But things like that, you find these things. I remember there was a Newgrounds. All right, Newgrounds. I'm trying to remember all the games. You had the Stickman games, all the Stickman games. You had that one with was it Pants on Fire? You had the guy running with the pants, and you had you had this one. I can't remember what it was. They had guns. It was like, is it something? Things popular flash games of all time. Fancy Pants, that's what it was. I thought it was Fire Pants. Balloons, yep. Happy Wheels, Impossible Quiz, yep. Alien Hominid. No, there was one. Let's see, which ones do I remember? An Impossible Quiz was big. Pandemic 2. Do I remember that one? I don't remember that one. This one, what was this? Madness Interactive, the Powder Game. There you go. Let's see. That one, the dirt bike one, where you had to do that one. That was cool. I remember there was Robot Unicorn Attack. That was a little bit later. I remember Adventure Quest and Dragon Fable, Neopets. Right? There was a bunch of different ones. There was a bunch of violent ones too. I liked playing the violent one. Yep, Neopets. Pop Tropica. They're gonna mention probably Webkins, and on top of Webkins, they're probably gonna mention what was it? The one with penguins. I didn't really play the one with the penguins too much. Club Penguin. Wizard 101. That was a little bit different. That wasn't really a flash game. That was more like like early MMO, kind of like World of Warcraft, but more towards kids. But yeah, any that whack your boss. That was a famous one. There was also one where you had to throw. This might have been the same one where you had to throw a crumpled up ball of paper into the trash can. There was one where Interactive Buddy. That was a big one. You could just beat the shit out of them. I used to play that one a lot. That one was crazy because I don't know, and those were like the popular ones. All those weird ones. But yeah, man, all these different ones, and like I said, I like to play the violent ones because they had a lot of violent ones. There was one called Skull Kid. Skull Kid was a big popular one. I like, because that was the time of Grand Theft Auto, all the shocking things. And so you type in like bloody games, bloody flash games, killing flash games, violent flash games, and then you go to like, there was one called violent flash games, or what was it called? It's called violent flash games. Actually, I remember what it was. It was 666 games. 666 flash games. There it was. Oh shit, is it still there? Shit, it's still there. Yep, this is the exact fucking website. This shit's still up. Yeah, it was 666games.net. Thing. These shits still work? There's no way these still work. Try a flash player. Game is flat. Oh, because I did install Ruffle. Oh, shit. Damn, that's loud. It's louder than a motherfucker. My bad. Sorry for that. This is the one, though. Thing. Yeah, these are a lot of games that I used to play a lot. Yep. And then used to go. What's the one? Let me see. They ain't the one. See, I see why people didn't like that one. It was like Thing Arena 3. This is the one. Oh, I remember Last Stand. That one you had to, you stand on the roof of a car, I think. It was like you stand on the roof of a car, and there's all these zombies. It's loud as shit. Anyway, we're not gonna play it too much. Things like this, Alien Hominid, that was on, I believe that was originally on, anyway, but when you go and you look at these, they used to have a warning. And it used to say, is this even the one? This is the one I remember. There used to be one, and you know what it was? You stood on the top, and, nah, this ain't the one, but, it's interesting. There was one where you stood on the top. It was like zombie golfing, right? Let's see, classics. Let's see if it was here. But there's one called zombie golfing. Action zombie golfing. I wonder if it's still there anymore. I don't find it. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked and I'm just wasting time because it really ain't about that. We got to get to the scriptures. But you go to these ones, and then there used to be warnings on some of the pages that said for adults only, right? Because they're violent, M-rated and stuff like that. And they weren't really M-rated because they weren't rated by the ESRB. But they would say, there are certain sites that would you could only go to. And it would say, are you 18? You have to be an adult. So the next assumption is typing in adult flash games. And then there was one called 2 Adult Games, right? And they did have regular games like this, but they also had porn games. And on top of having porn games, they also just had porn on the site. And I remember that's the first time I ever encountered it, right? So when you have that's another reason why you got to watch your children on the internet, man. Because it's not like they're going to go, well, some of the kids now they will, but back then it's not like you're specifically going searching for it. You're going looking for other things. Going looking for shit like this. Probably children shouldn't even be playing it anyway in the first place. But Clear Vision, those are the ones, the ones, Sift Heads. Yep, those are the ones. All the Stickman sniper games. But then you go and all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're seeing some shit at 7, 8 years old that you have no business seeing. All right, so that's just those things, man. And I believe really the way that the internet's set up is for that to happen, because Esau gets off on that shit. There's just like the same thing with the AOL chat rooms and all these different chat rooms that flood. There was a lot of how do I want to say them? Now they'd call them maps, all right? Minor attracted persons, all right? And that were, on those things. And a lot of people that were, if you look at the Dateline NBC's To Catch a Predator, that was all on chat boards, man. So you really got to watch your children. But anyway, getting back to the lesson. But that's Esau's culture. That's what they do. They're the ones that, if you go and watch To Catch a Predator, who's on it? Esau Edom primarily. Every once in a while, you're going to have some stragglers. You're going to have some other people, outside of the norm. But it's always Esau. It is always Esau. A matter of fact, I wonder what percentage of predators on to catch a predator were white. Should be like 99, 95%. It was exponentially white. It says lack of data. Well, the best thing that you could do is just go and watch the clips. I do want to kind of go and rewatch it. It says 93.6 sexual offenders were men, 57.5% were white, and they're going easy on that. But that's over half. All right, almost 60%. And we don't even know if this is the updated statistic. What percentage of what percentage of child sexual abuse perpetrators are white? So 57. Right here it's saying 59. This one's from the us.gov. I don't know how up to date these are PDFs. What percentage of, let's see, can we get updated information? Well, we did one. We broke down one once. Let's see. It's Hispanic whites. That's kind of a deceiving thing, but not white alone, 56.1, so almost 60% still. You can round that up. White alone, including Hispanics, is 72.3. So still, or no, that's not what I'm asking. What percentage on? Let me see. What percentage of child sex abusers are white? See, it don't want to give me anything. It's being slick. I did a lesson not too long ago on it. They're getting smarter with the AI. They don't want it to be revealing their little secrets because they're getting pissed off. But anyway, Ecclesiastes 12 and 10 still stands. You shouldn't be trusting these devils. And it's just sick, man. It's just sick. It's completely sick, man. So this is really why you got to now this is really dealing with the scriptures, but part of the scriptures, once you understand the mystery, all right, they go hand in hand. You got to go back and now that you understand the mystery, all right, that history is going to be all so more apparent. Once you have it, you know exactly who these devils are because they fit every single book, or they fit every single shoe that the Bible would have them wear, right? So 2 Timothy 2 and 15, it says, study to show thyself approved unto Yahweh, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightfully dividing the word of truth. So if you get that in the Ant Bible, it says, study and do your best to present yourself to Yahweh approved, a workman tested by trial who has no reason to be ashamed, accurately handling and skillfully teaching the word of truth. Okay, so it's dealing with scripture, but part of that is you got to understand this history that you can teach it as well. Okay, that's part of that study. Because you could say Esau, but if you can't bring, he did this, or he colonized this land, or compare it to the scripture how it says they call lands after their own names. All right, well, if you don't have the information about Amerigo Vespucci and what was his name, something Africanus, I can't remember. Was it Leo? How is it? Named, not names. They said it's not, but it was Scripio Africanus. I thought it was something else. They say it's a myth. It's bullshit. All right, they always try to Scripio Africanus. I guess that was for some reason I thought it was something with a Leo. All right, but anyway, that's him. And then if you look into the Amerigo Vespucci, I had that series where I was dealing with that book. Even that was a lie because he was named after a expedition that he took that he never really took. It was a lie. So America's named after a liar, all right, which is hilarious. It's hilarious. America itself is named after a lie, which is hilarious to me. Absolutely. But yeah, so part of that study is also, you get the scriptures, you understand the mystery. You got to get the history with it too, because you got to explain, oh, well, this is this here. Look at this. Scripture says this. Here's this piece of history to show you, so you can pin the tail on the donkey, right? You got to be able to pin the tail on the donkey, because if you can't prove who Esau is, right? And then the scriptures, they make it very, very apparent and very clear very clear, all right, to the studious who this devil is. And this is the type of shit that they do. And no one is like them, all right? Here's another one we always get, right? Hebrews 12 and 16. It says, lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. So no one's on that level of wickedness. There's a lot of people that are trying to get Esau a run for his money. You see Jake. The longer that we are here, Jake's character gets more and more diminished. It was at one point, Jake was known for being very closed off. The so-called black community specifically, they're very closed off. They're not progressive. They don't like, homosexuality. They're not with this. They're not with that. They're very bigoted. But now, you got Jake that are just, hell, damn near giving Esau a run for their money, man, with the Mo shit, right? But I did want to highlight this comment I liked that said the usual suspects. It's true. It's always them. And I bet, so-called white people are going to be in here mad. It says, totally agree. Those people are often in respected places and got good jobs, and they're still messed up. Yeah, I'll agree with that. Unfortunately, it says, that's your people. You white as fuck. Just because your name Carlos don't change your DNA. Well, not always. All right. This individual could very well just be a lighter looking Issacharite. All right. And so, you got Black King 1992. Well, what are you talking about? Your name's Hector. Your name's fucking Hector, dude. So you can't really change your DNA either. All right, you could be a negrito, all right, or something, all right, where you're not even really, you're not really even black. You're just actually just something else, all right. Hell, some of those negritos are fucking Africans and Hamites. So you could just be that. It says, Black King, why are you so pressed? He's calling his people out. Stop being emotional online. Well, they're not necessarily his people. It says, you obviously lack a reading comprehension skill. He think he's not one of them. Well, he's not if he's an Issacharite. You dummy. And a lot of these black people these days are just fucking dumb as shit, right? A lot of our people are just dumb as shit. And this is coming from someone who goes back to the tribe of Benjamin. A lot of our people are just dumb as fucking shit, right? And it's the same thing with Issachar. They're dumb as fucking shit. Same thing with Ephraim, dumb as fucking shit. All the tribes, most of our people are just dumb as fucking shit. Unless you're in this truth following and how about Shemiao Shai, the odds are you're dumb as fucking shit, man. You're dumb. Our people are dumb as shit. And I'm not giving white people a pass. They're pretty fucking dumb now too. These kids can't fucking read. They don't know anything. A lot of these people are just dumb. So anytime you see someone saying something on the internet, just assume they're a retard and move on. Because most of these people are dumb. They're not even worth arguing. Okay? If they're not dumb, they're the CIA, right? If they're not dumb, they're the CIA. That's what they do. So it says teachers and cops says, go back to beheading your cousins and selling your sisters online. That's what they're saying. Touch the nerve, pedo. Yeah, exactly, It says, calling people pedophile when you look like that is hilarious. Back to the bean farm, Pablo. So which one is it? Which one is it, man? All right. It says, you're white. I'll never trust you around my kids. Stop acting like you're trying to cater to my people by calling your own out. So you would rather have somebody not call. And again, see, this is the problem. This is why the whole, being a speckled bird or not, it really doesn't matter to these people in the world, because they're too dumb. They don't have a spiritual bone in their body. They don't know what the fuck's going on. They have no idea. Okay, they'll say this, but this guy could very well be a Jake, and they'll let Jimmy down the street. He's a so-called black guy, but he's really an Edomite, or actually he's a Hamite. That's all. No, Jimmy's my friend. He understands what it's like to be black. But he don't, because he's an Edomite. But our people are fucking retards, and that's why a lot of our people have to be slaughtered. Okay, slaughtered. Yes, a lot of our people have to be slaughtered. All right, I'd say senselessly, but not senselessly, because there is sense behind it. Some of our people do have to be senselessly slaughtered, though. But there is sense ultimately behind that motive. But what I mean by senselessly is like when we go to the race riots and we have all these issues that are going on in the end days, and you have people that are losing their mind and bloodthirsty, and they're going around hacking people up and carving people up with fucking swords and machetes and blowing people's fucking brains out with 9mm, 22s, 45s, 357s, whatever they want to do, bashing people's fucking heads in with hammers and shovels and shit, and whacking them in the neck with machetes and hatchets and all these different fucking things, and smashing their faces in with cinder blocks and stabbing them in the throat with fucking ice picks. All these different things, when that happens, yes, some of that's going to be, for them, seemingly senseless, all right? But there's really sense behind it, because it's going to be caused by Yahweh Shem Yahushai, because these people got to go, man. And that's why a lot of our people got to go. These people got to go. The Edomites, all the people really in this society other than the elect, there's got to be a massive cleanse. All right, a massive cleanse. Really, I'm not gonna say the word, but it's the G word aside of all worldly people. Okay, that's except for a few Edomites that are gonna be set aside for to be the first ones to go into captivity. All right, hardcore bondage and slavery for 1,000 years. But other than those ones that get set apart, everybody else is gonna have to be, and of course the elect, they're not gonna be scathed. But the heathens and the worldly jakes, they're going to have to be sensefully slaughtered. Okay, there's a method for the madness, so to speak. All right, because these people are basically going to be doing the will and the bidding of Yahweh Shem Yahushai unknowingly. To them, it's going to be senseless slaughter and murder and bloodlust. But really, the Lord is having it happen to those it needs to happen to, and not to those that it doesn't need to happen to. And that's why because our people are fucking dumb. These Edomites are fucking dumb. The heathen nations are dumb. Everybody's just dumb. All right. When I see an Edomite, they're fucking dumb. When I see a Jake working at a goddamn Sonic, dumb, just fucking stupid. Can't even make a meal right. You got the people are to the fucking point of stupidity that has never been. Okay, and Jake's fucking up there too. So and that's the thing. There's a lot of a nationalism that likes to happen with so-called black and Latino people specifically. You see it with Native Americans as well, but I'd say I see it the most with Judah and Issachar, all right, where they're very nationalistic, all right? They're very extreme, like, oh, we're the best. No one, we're not like those other. No, you're dumb. You're both dumb. All right, you are. You're both fucking stupid. All right, you're not in this truth. You don't know who Yahweh Shem Yahushai is. You either don't believe in God, or you either don't believe in God, or you believe a white Jesus somehow came out of the Middle East where everybody else was dark skinned, and you don't understand anything. You have no reading comprehension skills. You don't know anything. You can't tell fact from fiction. You don't study. You don't listen. You don't learn. And you're a dullard, and really what you are is a fucking carbon copy. You're a they cloned Tyrone, or a they cloned Jose. That's what you are. All right? All these Negroes act the same, man. So-called black people, they act the same. All right? And in the hood, they all act the same. They all eat a bunch of fucking Cheetos. And again, my diet's bad too, so I can't really say anything. But I'm saying, they eat like those weird colored drinks. They be drinking sun-kissed fucking blue raspberry. Sun-kissed blue raspberry. They be drinking weird, those weird fruit drinks, all right, that nobody should be even buying. Like I said, if I'll drink a Dr. Pepper or a Pepsi or a Coke, and you shouldn't even be doing that. Like I'm saying, I'm not justifying it. There's certain drinks that I'm not. They be out here drinking a fucking Welch's soda or some weird shit you never even heard of in your life, right? And some fucking weird dollar store candies that they had no business eating. Some shit you never even heard about, right? They'll eat the least popular candies. They'll just be sitting on the fucking porch, drinking a fucking sun-kissed blue raspberry, eating a fucking whatchamacallit. Literally, that's a candy bar, or whatchamacallit. They'll be doing that, eating they'll be sitting there fucking drinking a goddamn a fucking what is that shit called? That grapefruit drink. What is that shit called? Not Sprite. It's a Squirt. They'll be sitting on the fucking side of the street drinking a Squirt, eating a fucking Mr. Goodbar. Right, the weirdest fucking combination of shit, you know. But all the Jake in that area will be doing, oh, you never tried it, man. You never tried having a Mr. Goodbar with a fucking Squirt, man. You never tried it, man. So you crazy, man. You just putting putting all the experimental shit into your body. Not Mr. Goodbars are fine, but I've never been into a store specifically. I'm gonna get a Mr. Goodbar. All right? Nah, man. It's like no, hell no, nope, not doing it. But that's what I've noticed, and they all, you know, they're entranced by King Von. I'm not talking about regular black folk. I'm talking about black folk, you know, of the world that are, you know, of course you have some that are, you know, normal, genuine, regular so-called black folk, but most are not. Okay, most are not. Most are carbon copies. All right, ninjas. All right, carbon copies that are going around doing the same shit, talking the same shit. And how did they become that way? Esau made them that way. All right, so there's another part of Esau's culture, right? Is you know, taking the heritage from a person and implementing onto them a new identity that they think this is our culture. No, man, that culture wasn't around being, you know, maybe mid to late 1960s, but before that, you know, that type of culture wasn't around in 1910. Okay, and you were still around then. Wasn't around in 1920. So, and you were still around then. So, you know, when you started getting into that whole jive shit, it slowly built up. It slowly started to build up. It got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse with the pimps, and then you had the rap music, and then, you know, it got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Okay. Meanwhile, Esau, sure, yeah, they might have got a little bit worse, but they were already doing that shit underground anyway. Jake, you weren't. All right, you started learning that shit. You started becoming more and more. I mean, you were already bad, obviously, because we were here, all right, for our punishment. Our people, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, we were all here for our punishment. So obviously, all of our people. So yeah, man, our people have just been, they're dumb. And I'm saying this as someone from the Southern Kingdom. I've seen it. You can't just call out one tribe and not call out the rest, but just because you're from it. No, man. Being a Benjamite, you know, they're the fucking same shit, man. Same shit. All right, the women are just as argumentative as the regular Judite women. They're just as bad. They're just as hoey. They're just as hoed out. All right, they make food about just as well if they even fucking cook, because none of the women want to cook anymore. All right, and they act the same. They talk down to their men. It's the same shit. It's the same fucking shit, man. All right, it's the same fucking shit. And it's the same thing, but you got these little Latinas that, oh, fucking, dude, what are you doing, dude? It's the same fucking shit. All right, they're the Latina equivalent of a fucking N-dub. That's what they are. All right, just ninjas. All right, same shit. All right, and instead of doing the sunkit, they're fucking walking around. I don't know what they be drinking. Probably a fucking like a sangria with fucking like it's always the fucking hot Cheetos, man. Hot Cheeto limon or some shit, bag of Takis. All right, fucking with the leopard print fucking long ass coffin shaped nails. All right, that's what they do, man. That's what they do. And our people are bad, but they've learned Esau's culture, and they act like Esau, and they talk like Esau, and they walk like Esau, and they smell like Esau, and they dress like Esau. That's what they want to do, man. And that's what it is. So all this shit with all these people, you know, oh, you're white, I'll never trust you around my kids. Stop trying to cater to people by calling your own out. Well, first of all, so you'd rather have them not call their people out, and more than likely, we don't know who that person is. We don't know what they could be. All right, if we go to this guy's page, he doesn't look like no just regular pure white just because he's lighter skin. All right, but I bet your grandmama though, if she was a red bone, you say she's black though. All right, when this fucking bitch over here got, you know, blue eyes and damn near blonde hair and the way lighter skin than that guy does, or the same color skin, I bet you say she black. No, because she black. No, she ain't. No, she ain't. She's white. All right, she's white. All right, so, but you know, it's all just a bunch of bullshit with Jake, man. It's all just a bunch of bullshit. Because you want to know why? Jake's an asshole. But anyway, let's get a couple more scriptures and we're gonna close out. Let's get Titus 4:16. because I'm kind of overshooting the time by yapping. I got to get going to bed. I got to wake up hella early tomorrow. Hell, I got to wake up in like 4 or 5 hours, actually. Let's get, so what am I doing? How did I get 4? What am I doing? Anyway, Titus 1:16, it says, they profess that they know, oh, I see what I was doing. I was getting Titus 1:16. No, let's not get that one. Let's get Proverbs. I was going to go, because this is really dealing with Jake, but I was going to go on to that for a little bit, but we're not going to do that. We're going to move to Proverbs, is what I meant to type in. Proverbs 4:16. It says, for they sleep not, except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall. Again, we know these scriptures. These are not new to us. Ant Bible says, for the wicked cannot sleep unless they do evil, unless they are deprived of sleep. And they are deprived of sleep unless they make someone stumble and fall. And the other thing is, a lot of the time they're getting some type of weird sexual gratification out of it, because these guys are weird. I read a story about, it was on Reddit, about this guy that was watching gore videos, people die, and he was jerking off to it, all right, and his wife caught him, and I guess the guy turned into a full fucking psycho, killed the cats, was threatening her, threatened to kill himself. He was like a fucking lunatic, but he was hiding, a regular guy. She said he was a regular guy, worked at a regular job, seemed like a regular square, had nothing going on. Hey, how are you doing? But that's what he was doing. The guy was jerking off to watching people getting their faces smashed in. I've seen those videos. I've never once thought about doing something like that. That's the level of perverse and just vile that you have to be for that. That's not something that's sexually gratifying. But for Esau, it is. It gives them a hard-on watching people die. All right? Not times that I've watched that shit, and I don't even like to watch it. I'll watch somebody get shot or something like that, but getting smashed in the face with a hammer and shit like that, I'll listen to music about it. I'll listen to like Cannibal Corpse, hammer smashed face. I'll listen to the shit, but it's like a horror movie. Okay, it sounds crazy, it sounds demonic, but it's like a horror movie. They're not doing those things. If you listen to interviews with George Corpse Grinder Fisher, they call him Corpse Grinder, but George Fisher, he's a nice guy. The guy's an Edomite, of course, but as far as people in the world, he's a nice guy. He shops at Target. He's really into video games like World of Warcraft, and he's just a regular fucking guy that'll give you the shirt off his back for the most part. As far as an Edomite goes, there's always underlying shit that's going on, but as good as an Edomite can get, which is not very good, but they can have the appearance of niceness, right? But I'll listen to that stuff, but I know that it's not real, right? It's the same reason I don't really like to listen to this drill rap, man. I shot him in the face on Fire Street. I know that shit's happening, and you basically recounting a murder. With bands like Cannibal Corpse or heavier metal, it's not happening. It's just like same thing. I can watch Friday the 13th and watch a bunch of people get chopped up and killed, because they're not really getting chopped up and killed, right? So it's just a story. All right, it's the same thing with Cannibal Corpse. It's just a fucking story. It's morbid, it's vile, and some of their shit's too much for me. I don't like some of the lyrical themes that they go with some of the shit. I used to be more into it when I was a kid, but yeah, man, it's just it's supposed to be scary. It's supposed to be hardcore. It's supposed to be primal and just and you hear that type of music, and a lot of people don't like it, and it sounds demonic. And that's the whole point. It's the same thing with horror movies. It's supposed to be scary, but as far as like actually getting some type of sexual pleasure and joy out of it, no, absolutely not with the actual graphic images. I've seen a lot of them. I frequented Rotten, all right, when I was younger, and Ogreish and Live Leak and all. I've seen plenty of people die. But it's not something I'd get. I get a morbid curiosity out of it. All right, it's the same thing with serial killers. I'll research serial killers for hours on end. Do I want to be like that? No. Would I want that to happen to somebody? No. But at the end of the day, it's interesting. Understanding the human psyche and the human condition of the mind when somebody's mentally sick like that is just a very interesting concept. That's something that's perplexing to me. It's very interesting to me, and I grew up watching like Forensic Files, and even the fake shows like CSI and all these different X-Files. That was more like the same thing, but they added a supernatural element to it, and they're just interesting to me. But it's never something I could see myself getting, even, especially sexual gratification, but any type of actual gratification. It's there's always like, oh man, that's horrible to be like that, but it's just thought-provoking. It's thought-provoking. You see it, and it makes you feel uneasy. It makes you feel uncomfortable. But sometimes you have to feel uneasy and you have to feel uncomfortable, right? There's sometimes I'll come across a video on Instagram and I'll watch it, 10 times of somebody getting shot in the face. And people say, why are you watching that shit? Why are you watching it? Because I'm thinking while I'm watching it. I'm going through the human mind. I'm going through the, the pondering, all right, in my mind. I'm going through the stages of thinking, wow, just everything. I can't explain how my mind works or what's going through my mind necessarily when I watch those videos over and over and over again. I try not to watch the gorier ones where you see somebody begging for their life and blood gushing through their throat. I mean, I watched the Charlie Kirk one when that came out. But again, and I watched that over and over and over and over and over and over again. I must have played that. I don't even know how many times I must have played that. But you're just thinking, you're like, well, I wonder what was going through their mind, as they died. I wonder, were they panicking? Were they panicking but also feeling a sense of relief? Did they know what was really truly happening? Did they see any signs for it leading up? What was going through the killer's mind? Why did he do it? What's the reasoning behind it? Did he get gratification? Was he scared? What was going on? Like, what caused this situation to happen? Okay, other than, we know, of course, it's the Lord. He had it happen. But when you look at, from these individuals' perspective, because that individual doesn't know that they had a hit out on them by the Lord, and the individual doing it doesn't know that, well, sometimes they do. Because a lot of these serial killers, they say, oh, the Lord told me to do it. God was telling me to kill, right? So a lot of times they do, and I do believe them when they say that. A lot of people say, oh, they're crazy, they're doing this. No, because I don't know if it was Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. There was one individual that they said you see them. Some of them are just fucking nuts. Dahmer never changed, all right, even in prison. He never changed. But there's some of them that when they get in prison, they ask, why did you? I don't know. I really have no idea. Something was just telling me to kill, and I just did it. But it's not something I would do anymore. It's not something I would go back to. I feel terrible about it. I wish I wouldn't have done it, and I have no idea. I don't know why I was like that. And that's because that spirit of vengeance hopped on them and hopped off. All right? Sometimes that spirit stays and tries to take out as many people as possible until that person inevitably ends up dying. But some people hops off of. They don't have that anymore. They say, yeah, those horrible things. I feel horrible for the family. I wish I never would have done it. And I don't know why I did it. And that's because they were just a puppet. Right? But anyway, I'm getting to deep convo now. But yeah, there's things like that when you see those types of things, man. And it makes you think. It's thought-provoking. And it makes you think, it's I don't know how to it's like a very solemn, sad, but interesting study of human mortality. It's very interesting. It's the same thing I'll watch videos about, behind the scenes videos with morticians, talking about, why they do it, how it is. It's a very interesting concept. The concept of human death is a very interesting concept to me, because if it wasn't for Yahweh Baal Shem Yahweh Shai, it's the only thing that's really promised to us inevitably is death. So it's one of those things that's very, very interesting. It's very, but the way Esau is involved with it, that's the other thing that's very interesting. The way Esau handles death and the way that Esau, they don't really tiptoe. They really march right on through it with death is very different. They think about it differently. All right, and we're seeing younger Jake think about it differently as well now. You see these younger Jakes, they don't really, everybody dies. They don't really care that it's lights out, just like that. They don't really care. They don't have any care for their life. They don't have any self-preservation tactics. And they don't have any, because of with that, they don't have any circumspection. They're not wary and unwilling to take risks. They're completely off the deep end and extremely willing to take risks. Their whole life is a risk. Okay, they only do things that are risky, which is insane, and it makes you, again, another thing that's like, wow, what caused this? Was it the conditioning? Was it the music? Was it the things that they're putting in the water supply and impoverished inner city project areas? Is it the mindset that they're saying from other people? Is it all a sham? Do they really actually care about their life? Because it's just, and then Esau, we'll never really be able to do it. I've pondered and pondered. You can never really get within the mind of an Edomite unless you yourself are an Edomite, because the way that they view death is like it's like us going out for an ice cream cone. If you like ice cream, or whatever dessert you like. If you like cake, it's like going out and getting cake. If you like pie, it's like going out and getting pie. If you like I don't know, you like brownies, like going and getting some brownies, right? Ice cream. It's like going and getting ice cream. You go, oh my gosh, I get to go and eat some ice cream. I wonder what flavors they're going to have. That's how it is for Esau. They're going, oh, I'm going to kill. I wonder how I'm going to do it. I wonder, maybe I won't kill them. Maybe I'll just torture them. Or maybe I'll make them do something. Or maybe I'll make them kill. They have this imagination of deep depravity. And that's Proverbs 4:16. It says, for they sleep not except they have done mischief. And mischief is wickedness. It says, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall. I especially like the NLT version where it says, for evil people can't sleep until they've done their evil deed for the day. I like that one. They can't do it until they've done their evil deed. You know how you should do a good deed for the day? That's what we were taught, when we were younger. Do a good deed for the day. And I mean, if we can, we try to do a good deed, give alms or however it is, or help somebody out in some way, shape, or form. Or even with our loved ones, even if it's people we know, trying to lend some time to them. But these Edomites, they can't sleep until they've done their evil deed for the day. It says they can't rest until they've caused someone to stumble, to fall, to die, to panic, to be in a bad situation, right? Or to become depraved as they are. And it's just one of those things that's very, very, very interesting. And years ago, none of these things were really, you had the apostles that knew them. Of course, the apostles and the elders and the brothers of Great Millstone, and the one and the and at one point, the individuals that even still to an extent, the individuals that came out of One West, even like IUIC, they know, all right, who Esau is, and they're just it was locked. All right, it was locked to One West specifically. Primarily, GMS is the ones that really brought it out, and they're the only. Well, I won't say the only, but they're the primary, the teachers of the truth. All right, in this current society that we're in. All right, and they have been for upwards of 30 years now. Well, GMS, of course, hasn't been around for that long, but they were the same individuals that were in One West, and came out of One West, and they're still, as GMS, they're still teaching and preaching, and they're the ones that the Lord's dealing with. And of course, them, and then the ones that are teaching like them, that are disciples of them through Yahweh Shem Shai. They learn from GMS, such as myself, and they teach in the same way. They want to, they aspire to be able to teach like them to the full capacity, such as myself, and understand that they have the whole truth through Yahweh Shem Shai, such as myself. Then there are people like us that teach the same thing, but other than that, most people get it wrong. And then that's just Israelites, people that call themselves Israelites. But it was always locked to us, people that knew they were Israelites, calling themselves Israelites. And that really started with One West, and then the men that were teaching rightly, all right? And that really, really upped the game with Apostle Dahar, okay? And GMS, all right, bringing it out and making sure it was done 100% right. No women around the camps, all the things that were One West. He made sure to really have it done decently and in order as it's supposed to be, as the scriptures say. But the people of the world did not know. All right, they did not know about the so-called white man. You had the so-called black man that knew about the wickedness that Esau's done, but now we're to a level where it's everybody knows what these devils are doing to a level, not maybe to the T. But with shit like the Epstein files and all these things, they know. They know at least to an extent of what is going on. They just choose to avoid it and ignore it. So Jeremiah 23:23 through 25, it says, Am I a God at hand, saith the Lord, and not a power afar off? Or I should say, am I a power at hand, saith the Lord, and not a power afar off? Can any hide himself in secret places that I shall not see him, saith the Lord? So are you going to be able to hide yourself from the Lord? No, you're not. Esau's not going to be able to hide all their doings. It says, saith the Lord, do not I fill heaven and earth, saith the Lord? It says, I have heard what the prophets say that prophesy lies in my name, saying, I have dreamed, and I have dreamed. Where was it? That's not the one. I don't know why. I don't know how that messed up. It's usually the AI. That's what happens, man. That's why you got to double check AI. AI will pull, because I use it to pull scriptures, and then it'll attribute one one verse to another. It was a good verse regardless, but we weren't looking for Jeremiah 23 and 24. We were looking for Jeremiah 49 and 10. It says, "But I have made Esau bare, I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not." So, yeah, man, they can't hide. The Lord's uncovering them, and they can't do anything about it. All right, there's not a thing that they can do, not a thing they can say about it. They can't try to fix it because it's already been put in motion. Okay, it's already been put in motion. Let me just add a little note here. Hold up. Jeremiah 49 and what is 10? All right, had to fix my note. But yeah, man, that's these devils are being revealed, and they don't like it. That's why you're gonna see more changes to the AI, more changes to the search engines, and it's gonna be harder and harder and harder and harder and harder to actually find information about these devils. So that's why you got to get it while you get it, man. Because they're trying to cover all these things up. We've already seen from the last 4 years. AI growing and growing and growing, and we've seen how they've changed, and the wording and the information that you used to be able to pull is not the same information that you can pull now. Every once in a while you'll get a good little 1-2-1-2, you'll get a good trick out of it, but it'll correct itself quickly, and then it'll be hard to get information out of it. It'll lock it, and then there's certain protocols that if it does screw up and bypass the first one, after that it'll make it harder to do it again. And it's gotten especially bad with ChatGPT, so that's why I've usually switched off to either Claude or Google Gemini. But again, the ChatGPT is owned by the DOJ, all right, the Department of Justice, Department of War now. So Anthropic, Claude, they've refused to sell out. That's why they had all these different issues that was running on with them. They had Fable, their model Fable. Say, it can't be used for this, can't be used for that. And I mean, it's really because they didn't sell out to them yet. Of course, Google Gemini, I use that a lot. We already know Google's a fucking horrible corporation. They're up there with fucking OpenAI, who runs ChatGPT, and fucking Palantir. They're all combined. I mean, Claude isn't a saint either. There's the Anthropic team. I'm sure there's some fucking dealings going on behind there that that we have no ideas about yet. But they're all demons, all right? They're all just a bunch of wicked-ass motherfuckers anyway. But it's going to be harder and harder to, try to uncover information. So get it while you can, all right? Because eventually even these videos aren't going to be going out. They're going to be completely shut down as well. But anyway, that's the lesson, okay? So who says Esau has no culture? All right, they have a culture. It's just, banging kids and animals on top of other numerous wicked things as well. So that's where we're going to close out. Lord willing, the lesson was edifying. Again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Akakwadash. Shalom to you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring. Keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Till next one, Lord willing. Shalom.